Okay, 4 o'clock is coming up here shortly. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to just start out with some short introductions for everybody that's joining this webinar. I'm Brian Huberty. I'm the current president for the Minnesota Forestry Association out of Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And I'm going to go down the line with our list of panelists here. And we'll start out with Lori Barrow. She's going to start out the program. But go ahead, Lori, introduce yourself and what you do.
Yeah, sure. My name is Lori Barrow. I'm a DNR forester. Specifically, I deal with the private forest management side of things for the Bemidji area.
Okay, John.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm John Carlson. I work for DNR Forestry in St. Paul Central Office, and I am the Private Forest Management Coordinator. So kind of all things private lands management for DNR Forestry on a statewide level.
Thanks, John. Brian.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Bignell. I'm the Wood Procurement Manager for Potlatch Deltic in Bemidji, Minnesota. Buy logs from the sawmill here.
Thanks, Brian. And we also have Nikki Henger with DNR. If Nikki, if you're there, you can introduce yourself if you wish.
Yeah, of course. Nikki Henger with DNR, and I help with communication, so advertising for these events. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nikki. So just order the program. We're going to start out with the state programs, and that's Lori. And then we'll have a brief update on the federal programs by John Carlson. And then Brian Bignell is going to talk about what's happened at Potlatch just over here the last few months. And then we'll actually leave most of the time for questions and answers for you. And what we'll do is with, we're up to nearly 25 people. So if you have a question, just feel free to put it in the chat. And if it makes sense, I'll make you live to answer or to ask your question directly. So with that, Lori, why don't you go ahead and take it away? And your screen is being presented, so you should be good to go.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So today, again, my name's Lori Barrow. I'm out of the Bemidji area office. And today I wanted to try to go quickly through this, but to talk to folks about some of the financial and technical assistance that is available through state funding right now. Sorry, hang on. I don't think these pictures or images are anything new to folks on this call. We've all been dealing with the June storm, for the last 5 months. It's pretty devastating. Thousands of trees gone overnight and entire neighborhoods transformed. It's been emotional. It's been overwhelming. I know I'm exhausted and the work is far from complete. So earlier in this webinar series, I did do a webinar that detailed some practices and some steps for assessing and managing storm damage. This time I'm going to reframe it and just kind of go through how the cost share program that the state runs, that I run, can help landowners with smaller acreage in the Bemidji area as they're dealing with blowdown cleanup. And then John Carlson will follow up with some of that brief, what we know about the federal funding right now, which isn't a lot, but again, so today I just wanted to talk through some of the financial and technical assistance from the state side, so from the Minnesota DNR cost share funds. And then John will talk about those EFRP funds that'll be made available to landowners with larger acreage here in a bit. So one of the specific ways in which your local area DNR office, or me in that case, can assist landowners through with cleanup is through the cost share program. And this program is administered through the DNR. Prior to the blowdown event, I still manage cost share funds and helps with a wide variety of things like invasive species management and reforestation. However, with the blowdown, the DNR recognized the severity of the event and it awarded some disaster funds. And it's been up to me to be allocating out those resources and prioritizing projects that are between that 3 and 10 acre and helping folks clean up after the event. So how that program works is that it starts with contacting me or another area forester and scheduling a meeting to meet on the site of the damage and discussing site needs. So at that time, I typically talk with the landowner about forest stand dynamics and how reforestation will work and what the landowner goals and objectives ultimately are. And once I've met with folks on their property and discussed goals with them, I then take that information and write up a restoration or a salvage plan for them. That plan includes steps to take to restore the landscape or to salvage harvests, and a breakout of the reimbursement costs that I can help incentivize folks to get that work done. So the breakout is up to about 50% reimbursement payments for forest restoration activities. And those activities can include things like hiring a logger or renting a piece of equipment to chip or mulch down timber, or renting a piece of equipment to pile or push over blowdown. That project work can be completed by the landowner themselves, or it can be completed by a contractor or a logger. I've worked with both since the blowdown events happened. And then one caveat, and just a plug, you don't need a stewardship plan in order to utilize these funds. So that was kind of a hiccup early on with folks thinking that you needed that. You do not. So what activities are eligible? So this is a bit nuanced. In the case of the emergency disaster funds that the DNR has been allocating out, I've been trying to really focus on timber removal and mulching work in order to prepare sites for future regeneration, or as well as to reduce potential fuel hazards, so wildfire risk in these areas. So here you can see some of the activities that are included: site prep for replanting efforts, replanting woods after a salvage harvest. That includes the cost of those seedlings, and then taking those steps, forest health and protection, to, once those new seedlings are in the ground, we want to make sure that we're protecting them from deer browse with things like tree tubes or fencing enclosures and stuff like that. As I mentioned on the previous slide, this work can be completed by landowners, by both the landowners or by a contract or logger. I can't guarantee that a logger will take on that work, though. I think that's one thing that I've been running into some issues with, especially with timber that's unmerchantable. Like, how do we get that work done? And that's what these funds can be used, is perhaps a logger won't want to utilize it, but the work can still get done. In the case of an example would be like young aspen that's not merchantable, well, but it's all tipped. Well, we can get a piece of equipment in there and push it to help start regeneration in those areas. So we're just getting creative. So this is a pretty good program, and we're very lucky that the DNR recognized that this was a disaster and awarded some of these disaster response funding for it. There are a couple eligibility requirements, though. So in this case, the funding for the state disaster cost share funds is relatively limited. So it's geared to those folks who have less than 10 acres or less. We're hoping that the federal funds can help with those folks who have larger acreage. The work must be done in a wooded landscape, so this program is not intended for yard trees or agricultural land. This part stinks. I can't retroactively provide funding for work that's already occurred, and that one kind of hurts my heart, because I know folks have been being proactive and getting out there, but unless they've already spoke with me and we've developed a project plan, I can't award assistance. And then landowners also cannot double dip or utilize federal cost share funds for the same project. Again, John will briefly touch on those EFRP funds. And then finally, these funds are intended to be shared. So the state targets assisting up to 50% of the cost for those activities, not to exceed 10 grand per year per client. So pretty substantial. Again, how it works, just a brief rundown. First, you contact your DNR forester. I then work with you to sign up to get a vendor account with Swift. That's just to make sure that we know where the funding is going. Forester will then work with you to develop a project plan. Then you can do the work or hire out a contractor. After completing your project, I come out and verify that the work was done. And then once certified, you receive payment for the good work that you did out there to kickstart regeneration. So I just wanted to provide I can't see who's on, but this is one of the clients that I was working with. So you can see just incredible blowdown on his property. Called me up, we met on site, developed a project plan, already had a logger who indicated they were willing to do the work, which was great. So you can see a before and after. Before, it's lovely trees. It's just devastating. This isn't anything new for folks on this call. It's what we've been dealing with for the last 5 months. Absolutely devastated. I worked with them to develop a project plan, and I was able to get some funds set aside and encumbered at a reimbursement rate so that we could incentivize that logger to get in there and get that work done. I met up with him just last week and certified the site and released those funds. So it's a pretty easy process. It just takes a little time to get moving and to get all the pieces moving forward. So I just kind of wanted to share what that actually looked like. And again, went out, work was done, work complete, and now the site is getting ready to be reforested here in the spring. So it's pretty cool program, and that's really all I had. I just kind of wanted to walk folks through the steps of what the cost share disaster relief funds from the state side look like.
Thanks, Lori. We did have Chris Weir, I think it's Coder,
Weir
had his
Coder.
hand raised earlier, but then he lowered it, maybe answered it. Chris, did you have a question that you wanted answered?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I put a question in the question and answer too. We have larger acreage, but if the blowdown did like 10 acres of that, is that still not qualified?
No, that's something that I can work with you, Chris. There is no minimum or maximum. We're just trying to be creative and savvy with how we're utilizing these funds. So I know you, Chris. I'd be happy to come out and look at the site with you. We're just trying to reserve the state funds for those smaller parcels. Doesn't mean I wouldn't be willing to work with you still.
Okay, yeah, because we had kind of sections that got hammered and then other parts of the forest did not. So
Yeah, and that's been
it's-
how this game has been playing out. Just trying to be creative and getting the work done is the big part.
Okay, and I've got several parcels with damage, one south of town, one in Clearwater County. Are we limited to one or?
Just depends. We can work through that, Chris. I
Okay.
would like to reserve the larger acreage for the federal funds that are coming, but
Okay,
we'll just see how it goes.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Lori, is there an acreage limit either in terms of minimum or maximum?
I've kind of said it there. So there is no minimum other than it needs to be wooded in nature. So that's where it gets to be a little nuanced. This isn't for landscaping. This isn't for yard trees. This is for regenerating forested.
Okay.
And you can kind of split hairs on what that definition is. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, good question though.
All right. Let's move on to John, and this will be very brief. This is oh, great. I didn't even see they had this. This is the EFRP program from the USDA Farm Service Agency. John's going to give an update, and I hope you're not a radical left Democrat there, John. Anyways, that's this program. Just Google EFRP USDA Farm Service Agency, and you'll find this background. Go ahead, John. Take it away.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. This might take me just a second, so I got to, excuse me, make sure I get the right screen properly here.
Well, there you go. You got the view of, there you go. You got it. Perfect.
Is it looking good? Okay,
Yep.
Excuse me. All right. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. In case you weren't on here at the start of the call, my name is John Carlson. I work for DNR Forestry as the Private Forest Management Coordinator, and my office is located in St. Paul. So like you heard, so I'm going to talk today here briefly about kind of the main cost share program that's going to deliver most of the funds for this restoration work. And it's called the Emergency Forest Restoration Program. So I'll just kind of give you a brief overview of what this program is, how it works, and then what you can expect once you apply for the program. So a quick background. So originally we were thinking that this program would have started probably this month or early December, the latest. That's the indications we were getting. We were going to have a farm service agency. That's who's the administrator. Person come and speak today and go in more detail. Due to the shutdown, of course, that's not possible, but still wanted to come in here today to kind of give you an overview and to let you know that we've been working behind the scenes over these past handful of months here to bring this program to Minnesota in order to be able to provide the assistance needed. So if kind of the intent of this program is to respond to a national disaster. as it affects private forest lands. This is kind of the main program nationally that is put in place in order to provide that assistance. And common disasters, are typically a hurricane. They're wind events from hurricanes, tornadoes, could be snow and ice damage. The state of Michigan had a really large snow and ice storm this last year, and they have, over 1,000 landowners applied for that program within this last year to get that assistance. So that's just another example. Also, wildfires. We got another one of these in St. Louis County for some wildfires this spring. And then it could be flood or drought infestations or insect infestations as well. So who administers the program? So this is a program that's administered by U.S. Department of Agriculture Farm Service Agency, or FSA. And kind of what they do is on a national level, they set funds aside and put it in a pot and wait for these disasters to occur. So once a disaster does occur, the state can declare that. It's a different process than the typical natural disasters for other like FEMA relief and whatnot. It's a different process, but that money is there, and so it's just a matter of getting the state to submit that request, and then those funds are moved over. And so right now, we're at the point where the state of Minnesota has approved the request, and they sent it off to the national office. And for the last, I don't know, it's probably been 2 months. It's been sitting in the national office, just waiting for formal approval. We don't expect there to be any reason for it not to be approved, because like I said, the funds are already allocated nationally. It's just a formality to approve it from what we've been told at this point. So we would have thought it had been here by now, but now it's just going to be a little bit of delayed because of the shutdown. So and what it is, it's a cost share program. So kind of Lori talked to you about the state cost share program, which is going to be, limited funds kind of intended for that smaller parcel of land. So this is going to be the main program that's going to be able to provide that financial assistance to be able to restore your woodlands. And again, it's not yet approved. So this is just for getting you ready for when it's going to be approved. But what it does is it will provide up to 75% cost share payments for forest restoration activities. So it's a little bit higher than our state cost share. And the minimum size is 1,000 acres. And of course, max is 500,000. Don't anticipate that larger one typically, but that just kind of gives you an idea on how much money on a national level is set aside to be able to respond to some of these larger disasters. Here in Minnesota, we haven't had this program. I've been in this position for 10 years. We haven't had a need come up in the last 10 years. I believe the last one where this came up was it was about 2012, and it was actually for another Blowdown event in the Bemidji area. And this program was brought up at that time as well. So who is eligible? Essentially, it is exactly the same as what Lori had mentioned to you before. It's not the urban areas. There's other funds that are available for those urban areas and those yard trees. So this is kind of more for that rural and nature forest land that was affected by the blowdown. And it has to be a forest that was directly affected by the blowdown. It can't be forest adjacent to the blowdown. It's got to be areas that did experience the blowdown. And then it has to be in the counties that where this disaster was declared. And I know the Minnesota Farm Service Agency did declare it for, I think it was maybe in total of 6 counties. So pretty much all those counties around Bemidji and surrounding area, they put in the request to be able to utilize these funds. Okay, I forgot to hit my button there for the land is eligible. And then what type of restoration activities are covered? So all similar to our state cost share program that Lori kind of briefly mentioned. But essentially it's going to cover the up to 75% cost of that debris removal. So all those trees that are damaged, helping pay funds to be able to cut those up, chip them, get them off site, whatever that looks like in your case. It can also provide help to get that site ready for tree planting if necessary, even some like bud capping if you need some browse protection from deer. Could be some forest stand improvement work as well. So if you have some standing trees that are damaged that aren't going to get chipped or taken off site. Maybe some of those will just get felled and then left on the ground. There's some different scenarios where funding could be used for that. Then also potentially like a forest road repair situation if it was damaged due to this. And just like the state cost share program, either you can do the work yourself or you can hire a contractor. It can be done either way. And so how to apply for this program. So again, as of today, this EFRP has not been officially approved yet. So right now you can't apply. We have to wait for a kind of to get official approval. So right now it's listen for the Farm Service Agency to officially announce a sign-up period. So that's how it works. So when it's approved at the national level, they're going to announce a sign-up period. And that sign-up period is going to start on a certain date. Again, originally we thought it would be by early December. So I guess logically you would think if the shutdown is X amount of days that maybe it'd be delayed that many amount of days. I'm not sure how that'll work, but potentially early January, maybe sooner. Who knows? I'm not sure how it'll work. But they'll announce a sign-up period, and that typically is going to be 90 to 120 days. So they're going to set that sign-up period. So during that time was when you would apply for the program. So once they sign up, oopsie, there we go. Once you sign up for that, or once they announce that sign-up period, then you would contact the Farm Service Agency office to apply. So here on the slide, I just put a couple phone numbers up just for the two largest counties that were affected. Even if you didn't live in these counties, you could call these numbers. Or if you called any Farm Service Agency office in your neighboring county, that'll all work. They'll all route you to the same place. So again, wait for that sign-up period to start, and there'll be some announcements when that happens. You know, when we find out, you know, Minnesota Forestry Association will likely have a posting on it. So there'll be some outreach efforts to try to get that word out. We'll be notifying our partners, and the Farm Service Agency will be broadcasting that also. So definitely that you'll want to kind of keep an ear out for that. So then kind of just in general, what to expect. So you're gonna talk to the Farm Service Agency. They're gonna fill out some paperwork from you. They can even do it remotely if you have that capability. So you don't necessarily have to go into a federal office to do this. They can do it remotely, and they can handle this through digital signatures. But essentially, they just need you to first bring paperwork that shows that you own the land. So whether, you know, that's a tax statement, I'm not sure exactly what that'll be. And then they're going to verify you own that land, get you into their system, and then they're going to fill out some EFRP paperwork, and they're just going to ask you, you know, how many acres are you looking to do, and what type of work are you going to want to do. And you may not know exactly at that point, and that's okay. You're just going to give them some general information. But then later on, when a forester comes out to write you a plan, is when that information will kind of that plan will get more solid foundation. So after the Farm Service, so you're going to apply with Farm Service Agency. They're going to approve your application, and I'm not sure how long that'll take. It could be, in the most extreme case, as quick as a week. And if they get overwhelmed with applications, it could take a number of weeks after. I'm not sure exactly. We'll just kind of see how that pans out. But after they approve your application, the next step is a forester is going to reach out to you. So DNR Forestry, like I said, Farm Service Agency administers the program. DNR Forestry is assisting them with coordinating the technical assistance. So behind the scenes over these past few months, we've been working on how we're going to plan for that and what that's going to look like once this program is ready. So a forester is going to reach out to you, and just like they would with our state cost share program, and talk with you, go out on site and write up a written project plan for your land. And then you'll have 2 years to complete that project, and then that federal program expires. So just kind of give you an idea, timelines there. So I think it's 2 years for after the forester visits you, writes you that project restoration plan. That needs to get approved by the Farm Service Agency. You need to sign something again. And then after that's taken care of, you have 2 years to complete that project. And then at that point, you'll get that work completed however you have arranged, and whether it's yourself or with a contractor. You'll notify the Farm Service Agency and your forester that wrote the plan. And then that forester will inspect the site, approve the work that was completed. And then you'll go to the Farm Service Agency office. You're going to show them. And one thing that's different from this program, from our state program, is you have to keep track of the cost for that. And that can take different forms. And the Farm Service Agency office will work with you on what that is. But essentially, you're going to keep invoices, receipts, any logs of hours, or whatever the case may be. And then they're going to be able to, they can't reimburse you for greater than 75% of the cost based on their rates that have been set already. So it's a little bit different. It is for a higher percentage, but it can't exceed that. It's not a flat rate. So it'll kind of depend on what your cost is too. And so that's essentially it. And so, once this program launches, we'll look to give you more detailed information on another webinar here in the future, assuming it'll be ready in time. And we'll look to have somebody from the Farm Service Agency come here and kind of walk us through maybe in more detail of the information that they're looking for. So that'll be, let's see, what else did I want to mention on that? So so amount of money, you might be wondering how much money is going to be in this program. I'm anticipating a minimum of 5 million and potentially maybe 10 million. And I'm told too, if funds run out, that they can ask for more and get that added to it. So essentially, the funds should be there to take care of all the work that we need to take care of. So that's good news. So that's kind of going to be the kind of the backbone for doing most of the work out there is going to be through this program. So we'll see. Hopefully, it'll. I think from past experiences, from what I heard the last time it was in the Bemidji area in 2012, that it worked fairly well for people. And so we're looking to hopefully make it the case this time as well for you. So yeah, more to come on that. Stay tuned. That's all I had. And if you have any questions, I can attempt to answer them now.
Yeah, I have one question from Tom Ringenberg. And I may just have him get on live here because he has a property in Balsam Township. I'm guessing that's Beltrami, but he had a storm on meaning July 27th with significant blowdown. Is he able to get assistance for that? And Tom, if you're there, can you say which county you're in? Tom, are you there? Oh, maybe not.
It's a good question. I guess I can try to answer it. It'll be Farm Service Agency is the administrator of this. So so this disaster, what happened on June 20th is when this event happened. Good question. If it's in a county where this disaster was occurred, I say there's probably a good chance, but I can't say for sure.
I
If it
think
was the
it's
exact same
Itasca County. I looked it up real quick, and it's Itasca.
Itasca County. I believe Itasca County was one of the counties that's going to be declared. So if it is a blowdown, I would say there's a good chance that it would be, but I can't say for sure.
Talk to the Itasca County FSA office when it comes open.
Yep.
And there was also a quick question: was Clearwater included? And yeah, I responded back to them, yes, it was.
Yes.
But I didn't. They wanted a phone number. I don't have that off the top of my head.
You could also call if there's the same 2 people are going to be handling all the applications regardless of county. So even if you're in Clearwater County or any other of those, you could call any of those 2 numbers I put up, and it'll be okay. You'll eventually get to the same person.
Okay. There are no other questions, so let's move on to Brian Bignall. And Brian works, as you heard, if you got in early enough, it works for Potlatch Deltic, and which is now merging. Are you merging with who is it again with Brian?
Yeah, we're merging with Rayonier. yet to
Yeah.
take place sometime in the first or second quarter of 2026.
Okay. Anyways, Brian, you've been a little busy, obviously, since the blowdown, and you want to just give a little background on what you do and what's happening
So
in the industry
I don't
side?
have a set up PowerPoint or anything. The storm happened on a Friday night. Already by Saturday morning, me and my foresters were getting text messages and phone calls from loggers and landowners wondering what to do. Will we buy this wood? How do contractors handle it? What can we purchase? What should we not? We ask that they concentrate on softwood saw timber. It's got the shortest shelf life once it gets blown over or damaged. It turns blue, it dries out, it makes it very difficult for a sawmill to manufacture. We did ask for a lot of trim back or buffers between broken trees. Again, as you can imagine, we're making lumber. If the trees are shattered, we can't make solid wood products out of that. We need to grade it because this goes into home building. So any of those defects that we would find ends up in a pallet grade or an industrial crating grade. And so it's been very busy. I would say by the 1st of October, much of the larger plantations or patches of damaged timber had been salvaged. The bad part of it is neighbors were in competition with each other. If somebody wanted a lot of money for their timber, they probably got bypassed to the person that just wanted it cleaned up. And I think that is still ongoing as people are doing the leapfrog. Where are we going to work and what are we going to clean up? So unless there's specific questions, I did not provide or put together any talking points today. Just here to answer questions. I apologize, Brian. I've been invited for a couple months now and just a busy fall recreation schedule. I haven't been able to make.
No worries. We're trying to, this is as informal as it gets, just trying to get answers out as best we can. And we know it's a moving target for everybody. And also with your counterparts at West Fraser and International Paper and so forth, I thought I heard from the Mary Perala that they're not even taking timber up or wood up in International Falls right now. And I don't know the story in West Fraser off the top of my head.
Well, I'll speak a little out of school. I don't work for these facilities.
Yep.
Anything I say needs to be checked with somebody that has some more validity. West Fraser just started up today after a 2-week shutdown. They've got a major construction project going on there. So they shut their wood yard down, needed some space, thought they had some unsafe activities going on with log trucks and construction. So shut it down to get some work done and make it safe. As people know, we're in maybe a drought or a minor drought in this area of the world. So logging operations haven't been delayed for a good long time. And that's just put a lot of wood into the marketplace. Add salvage and blowdown and so forth. Last thing I heard is it may be the end of November before PCA and International Falls is buying much timber. Trying to create a hole for the winter. They rely on a lot of winter operations. If they go into the winter full, they will have some very disappointed logging contractors. So it's really for trying to open up for the winter and allow those winter operations a good run at producing some products. But again, check with people that actually work at those facilities. Those are the things
Thanks, Brian. Got any questions for Brian or any of the panelists here? You can either type it in on the Q&A feature, or if you want, raise your hand. There's a feature for that, and I'll just unmute you. And also, while people are thinking of questions, Dave Rourke, why don't you introduce yourself? You got in here a little bit late. Oh, there's Dave.
Yes, good afternoon. Dave Rourke here, member of immediate past president of the Minnesota Forestry Association. And I could just share, John mentioned the last FSA EFRP funds was back in 2012. I had a 40-acre parcel south of Bemidji off of Highway 71 across the highway from where Dukek stores their logging equipment. And it actually went quite smoothly for me. I applied within a couple of weeks. Forester came out. I was eligible, signed up. 2 weeks later, I started my work. They came out when I was completed, did an inspection, cut a payment, and it worked very smoothly. So it's just a matter of having the patience because of the shutdown now for that to come into play. And if you have, any of the questions relative to details of what you're thinking or what's eligible, it's all taken care of when that forester comes out. They're going to take a look at that and have that discussion with you. So you can begin to think before you have that forester come out, what you would like to do relative to reforestation projects. The cleanup is pretty, that's kind of a straightforward thing, but after you get it cleaned up, what's next? You want to start thinking about, the kinds of trees you want to plant, the number of trees, what kind of site prep you might have to, be working on to prepare your site before you plant the trees and whatnot. Start thinking about those kinds of things. And then when the forester comes out, you can mention what you have in mind, and then you can kind of have that conversation about what that looks like, and it'll make the process a little smoother.
Thanks, Dave. Questions for anybody here on the panel, or even some of our other counterparts? Stan Grossman is chimed in. He's with our Minnesota Forestry Association board. Jennifer Teagard is with the DNR down in St. Paul. So there's a lot of experts here, and we're here to help. So please ask your questions or raise your hand. And next December, we're still going to have it a month from now, second Tuesday, 4 p.m. And we're going to try, and hopefully maybe the government shutdown will be done by then. We'll have a better handle on the Farm Services Agency Emergency Forest Restoration Program. As an update and probably a little bit of a wildfire talk, Lori, I can't remember who we had up on deck or for that. Do you recall?
Yeah, it'll be our fire team leader, Ben Lang.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Okay. No questions from the group. That's a little bit surprising.
Brian, I see a question in the chat. I can answer that. Someone said, if I started my removal and piling, will I qualify for the federal program? So unfortunately not. So similar like the state cost share program, you have to wait till they encumber the funds before they'll pay for it. There is a few small instances where the federal one where they could go back, but it had to be related to like life and safety, or like, I'm not sure what their stipulations are, but if you're working on your back 40 already, that specific work they won't be able to reimburse you for, but it doesn't disqualify your property altogether. So let's say right now you got a logger going in, or you're doing some work. That's good. That's great. You won't get reimbursed for that. However, you can still apply for the program. Forester will still come out and they'll develop a restoration plan for your property and bring you funds to take it from there. All that replanting and whatever is entailed. So it just won't be for the specific work that you started, but it will be for all the work that's yet to need to happen. So.
Great, thanks, John. And your counterpart, Jennifer Teagard, is live, so she's going to ask a few more, or not ask, give a little more detail on the cost share program. Jennifer, you there?
Yeah. So I was going to mention, this kind of, there's some steps to follow, and John brought up one thing I was going to say is, to get DNR cost share, you would contact your forester, in this case, Lori. And then, then Lori visits the site, if it seems to fit well with the program, Lori would visit the site and come up with a project plan. Then Lori would fill out it was called cost share request assistance. That's the contract. And then the landowner would sign that. Lori signs it. And then we encumber the funds. And then Lori will let you know work can begin. So we can't reimburse for work that's done prior to getting this contract or getting the funds encumbered. And then once Lori informs you work can begin, you can do the work or hire someone to do the work. And then when the work's done, you would reach back to Lori, say, I'm done. She would come out, inspect the project. And then based on the amount of work that gets done, she would submit an invoice, and then that would then eventually, get to our fiscal, and it would get paid.
Yeah, and I put up the state cross share website again for folks, just so they
Yeah.
can take a look at it.
And I forgot one other thing is you do need to become, it's called a state payee within our system called SWIFT. So you, and Lori has information on that, but you, if you're not a state payee, sometimes you would need to also become a payee before we could encumber the funds.
Yeah, basically SWIFT is a database system, Oracle database system, and allows for direct payments through the system to your bank for
Yeah.
those payments.
And if, yeah, and if you don't have direct payment, they will also issue a check, mail a check
Yep.
out.
Yep. Dave, you got a question? Dave Rourke?
Thanks, Brian. No, I was just going to give a little bit of clarity to John Carlson, touched on it about, being able to start some work. So any work that gets approved and you're going to get reimbursed or cost share on has to be looked at and approved. So in my case, I had a 40-acre parcel, and about half of the volume, third to half of the volume was aspen. And so the trees were uprooted, broken off, bent severely and whatnot. So, but it was salvageable. So I was able to move ahead. I had Duquesne move in, cleaned up and salvaged what they could. And obviously, because of the blowdown and the breakage and whatnot, there was a lot of extra slash that was laying on the landing. So I had a pile of slash that was created from my salvage sale. I got a minimal amount of money for salvaging. I think it was between 400 and 500 cords of aspen. But now I created something for the forester to come and see to approve. So I chipped up that entire slash pile that I had that was about 20 feet high and about 250 feet long. A lot of extra slash because of all the breakage and whatnot. So cleaning up of that slash that I created by salvaging the aspen was part of the cost share program that I applied for. So if you do have some salvage that you want to do, just to make that clear, you can go ahead and salvage that, and you're going to create some more work that you're going to need for cleaning up. That's totally approved and okay to do that. So just to differentiate that about, getting started, it depends on what you start with, but they have to see anything you're going to get cost share. And if I wouldn't have salvaged that wood, they wouldn't have been able to see that, it would have approved that the whole works, all 400 cords would have been chipped up. That could have been a possibility. But in this case, I was able to utilize that product. And then I got cost share for the residue that was left behind.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. We also have a question from Glenn Olson. What types of browse protection for regen are typically approved? Slash walls, ? Fencing, ?
Yeah, I guess I can answer from on the federal side. And if so typically the most common case is going to be like bud capping for pine regeneration is the most common one you're going to see. I think the federal one, they might allow maybe mesh protectors also. They have something in there for protection by perimeter-based protection by foot. Not sure exactly what that covers. You mentioned slash. So I would say maybe. We'll have to kind of see what the program allows, but at least for any perimeter-based protection, I would say maybe I can't 100% say for sure on that one.
Okay.
And then just from the state side of things, that would be fencing, bud capping, tree tubes, that kind of protective.
All right. Thanks, Larry. Questions? We still have plenty of time to answer your questions. Otherwise, our next one is December 8th, Monday, 4 o'clock again. And you feel free to reach out to us. I threw up our website, which has links to the DNR and other programs. There's our December 8th. You can register for it. If you register for this, you're already registered for that program. No need to do it twice. Cost share links, resources for reforestation, etc. If you got any questions, feel free to email info@minnesotaforestry.org or any of the folks here, and we're always willing to help as best we can. Any last comments from our panelists? Dave, John, Lori?
I don't think I had anything else to mention. Good.
Nothing here from Jen.
Thank you, John. Yeah, everybody's probably a little depressed. The Vikings got their butts kicked yesterday, so that's why everybody's a little glum. All right. And I don't see any more questions on the Q&A, and I don't see any hands up. So with that, we'll stop the recording, and